Hello, folks. This is a special once a year video that I want to start doing that I've kind of had the idea for a while. I know it's not the first time someone has done anything like this. Think of it as kind of an open letter to myself, a very casually written open letter to myself in the year 2015. I'm actually recording this early in 2014. It's what, January 9th, 2014. The idea here is I'm sending a video letter or a letter, copyright Vertigo Tea Party 2014, to myself, kind of talking about things that I'm interested in this year, things that are either going on now that I'm interested in finding out what's going to happen with this, as well as talking about maybe games that are coming out in 2014 that I'm hype about. Will they live up to the hype? Will they be even better than I think? Will games that I'm not that crazy about kind of flutter? Who knows? So I just thought this was a good idea, because one thing I really love about Let's Plays, and I promise I'll actually just get to the content in a second, is I like the archival aspects. I like being able to go back 1 year, 2 years, 5 years later and listen to myself play these games that I haven't played in a long time, and it'll be just like seeing them for the first time, especially me with my bad memory. So I like this idea of taking my mindset now of 2014 and then looking back in 2015 and kind of answering my own questions. Because in 2015, the beginning of 2015, the plan is I make another video answering this letter to myself with all the topics that I bring up. And of course, I'll make a new video to the year 2016. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. And again, keep in mind, this is more of an open letter to myself. You guys are just invited to come along and make, if you want to leave comments, go right ahead. I'd be curious to see what you guys see, or maybe you make comments now, and when I make my video in the year 2015, you can reference back to this video and see your comments from a year ago. That would actually be pretty interesting. Anyway, let's talk about some of the things that I'm interested in. First of all, let's look at games that I am looking forward to in the year 2014. The first game I'm looking forward to is Bayonetta 2. I absolutely love Bayonetta 1. It's one of my top 10 favorite games. Actually, it's probably on the top 5 favorite games of all time. I love it a lot. Bayonetta 2 is only hitting Wii U. That's unfortunate, because I don't have a Wii U, and I don't really want one, but I absolutely will buy it. It's Bayonetta 2 for me is a system seller. There's a very few games or series that will make me buy a system. Bayonetta is one of them. And obviously there's been rumors that Bayonetta 2 will come to other systems. So did that ever happen? I really don't think it did. I think everyone involved in this game has pretty much verified that this is not going to happen. It's only Wii U, and it will not go anywhere else, because Nintendo pretty much rescued this project. If it wasn't for Nintendo, Bayonetta 2 just wouldn't exist. So I'm curious, me, of 2015, how did that game turn out? Was it great? Was it okay? How did the Wii U pad end up working? And do I end up buying a Wii U and then finding other games? I know the Super Mario Brothers 3D World is supposed to be a phenomenal game. I'll almost certainly pick that up. I would think you would have done that, me. So if you did, what did you think of that game? But more importantly, what did you think of Bayonetta 2? Was it as good as the first? What did you like about it? One thing I would like to know too is, did they put a bunch of Nintendo references in? Because in the first game, there's several Sega references, like the rings that you pick up. They're halos, but they could also be interpreted as Sonic rings. That could have just been a coincidence. But there's the Space Harrier level, which has the Space Harrier music. I think that's the game that it was paying homage to. Is it homage or homage? I think it's homage too. With obviously the old music that Sega, from the old Sega game. So I'm curious if they do the same thing with Nintendo. That'd be pretty darn neat. It'd be cool if one of Bayonetta's outfits is like a Princess Peach outfit, like an alternate outfit is, or she has a Luigi outfit, something like that. That'd be pretty cool. Next is Watch Dogs. I wrote Sleeping Dogs, but I always get Watch Dogs and Sleeping Dogs, the names mixed up. Watch Dogs, I'm totally hyped for this game. I saw it. What did you think of it? Did it live up to the hype? It's been delayed. It was supposed to come out last year in 2013. So how did it turn out in 2015 or 2014? Did it turn out good? Did it get delayed even more? I'm really curious to find out how good that game turns out to be. The new Thief game. I love Thief. You know that. It's one of my favorite series of all time. And sorry if you can hear my PC buzzing. Hopefully we didn't have any PC. Did we have any PC issues this year? I hope not. I think we've got everything pretty much nailed down. Probably no upgrades this year either. I need new hard drive space. At the time of this recording, I am desperately running out of space. I've got two 2 terabyte external hard drives filled, one internal 2 terabyte hard drive almost filled, and then my main drive, which hovers around 300 gigs until I start recording. So it's starting to get a little sketchy. So I know I've gotten a new hard drive since then. I don't know if I went with external, internal, but anyway, Thief. Love the series. However, I've really not liked a lot of the information that has come out about Thief, with a lot of people from the company leaving suddenly and delays, things like that. It's made me very cautious, and things that they've showed from the game shows that they're trying to make it Dishonored. It feels more like they just wanted to copy Dishonored, which is kind of ironic, since Dishonored is kind of like Thief, but an distinctly different. But it seems like this Thief crew is going more like Dishonored, less like original Thief, which is, of course, blasphemy, because you're making a goddamn Thief game, not a Dishonored sequel. If you want to make a Dishonored sequel, make Dishonored 2, you assholes. So I'm looking forward to it, but my expectations are very, very low. So how did it turn out? Did I end up surprised? Did it turn out as bad as I was afraid? Let me know what you think of the new Thief game. Murdered Soul Suspect. Haven't heard a lot about this game, and I think it's coming out this year. Basically, you are like a murdered detective, but you come back as a spirit, and you're investigating your own death. That game looked pretty cool. I haven't heard much beyond, I think it was E3, that we heard about that game. I haven't heard a lot about that one since then, but it looks pretty cool. Infamous Second Sons. I'm also very much looking forward to that. Wait, hold on, wait. No, 2015. Here's the kitty, a year younger. Oh no. Oh, she doesn't like that. She hates that. Oh no. She's like, oh no, let's get it. Oh, okay. All right. She's been incredibly annoying today. But anyway, Infamous Second Sons. Or Second Son. What is it? I think it's Second Son. How is that? I really like the first one. I didn't play the second one. I've got it on PSN Plus. I've had it for like a year, and I just never played it. Hopefully I've played it before the game actually comes out. But yeah, I'm very interested in that. I think that looks really good. How did that turn out? Destiny, I think that's like Halo-ish. Honestly, I don't even know that much about it. Did I even care about it? Because I don't even know if it's coming for PC. And if it's a first-person shooter, I don't really care. If it's FPS and not on PC, I just don't care. So I wrote that one down anyway because I'm curious how it turned out. And even if I'm not interested in this, I'm curious what the official reception was, if it was all it was supposed to be. Dark Souls 2 is another big one that I'm apprehensive about, but looking forward to. I've heard a lot of concerning information. It sounds like they really wanted to shove the multiplayer down everybody's throats, whether they wanted it or not. Or, well, specifically, PvP down everybody's throats. So did that happen? There's also a lot of talk of how a lot of the game was dark, and you had to balance using a torch or some other light source versus using a shield. And if that's the case, that just sounds really crappy. That's a really lame way to make a game more difficult. So I'm hoping that was overblown. I'm hoping that if they did, they backed off on some of that crap, because especially the PvP stuff is just going to be abused. I can see even a month into the game, maybe 2 to 3 months, where people have learned the game, and what they'll end up doing is going back, they'll get the most powerful items, but stay a low soul level, and then invade other players, like new players, with uber gear, and just completely demolish them. So I'd be curious, what happened? Was the PvP abused? or was it as heavy-handed as it sounds like they're going to make it? So I'd be very curious of that because I love Dark Souls. So Titanfall, excuse me, obviously it has a lot of hype. They just announced that it's. I'm a little confused with information. First, it sounded like it capped out at 6 versus 6. But now it sounded like 6 versus 6 is optimal, but you can go higher because some of the maps are larger. So I'm not quite sure if it's hard set at 6v6 or if you can go higher. There's a lot of people who are not too pleased with that information. I'm skeptical. Even with Team Fortress 2, I don't like games that have at least like 8 people on each side, and that's cutting it pretty close to what I'm willing to tolerate. So we'll see how it comes. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and see how that works out. Obviously, I'm interested in the PC version, but yeah, and it's multiplayer only. So I'd be curious if I'm interested, if I even pick it up at launch, due to the reviews and stuff, because I usually don't play stuff that's multiplayer only. But yeah, did I end up getting that? Did I like it? I don't know. Tell me. The Order. I put the Odor. The Order. Not really much is known about that game, as far as I know. I don't think any gameplay's been showed off. Only some videos, like some cinematics. It looked cool. I think it was like a steampunk werewolf hunting thing, or like kind of a Van Helsing vibe. Maybe it might be remembering it wrong too, but yeah, that seemed kind of cool. I don't know if it's coming out this year, to be honest. So I'd be curious what I thought of that one. Witcher 3 is another game I'm very, very much looking forward to. Witcher 1, I did not like at all. I've said that multiple times. Witcher 2, we like that one. We really like Witcher 2. I can't put my finger on why I liked it, but the overall package was good. But I'm curious, did they fix things that I really hated? Like, not being able to pick up your loot immediately. Like, having to wait for combat to end was a pain in the ass, because it would usually take 2 to 3 seconds, even after everything was dead, for you to be able to loot. So I'm curious if they fixed this problem, and you can just loot whenever the hell you want. Another problem with the combat was very meh. Witcher 2 was bad about starting you off, like, throwing you into nasty combat before you had any tools to really deal with it. So I'm curious if they've kind of balanced that out, that curve out a bit, and two, if they just made the combat better. Obviously, all the PR stuff was like, oh, the combat's so much better. But they said the combat in Witcher 1 was good, and it wasn't. It was crap. And in 2, it's all right. So maybe in 3, we've got it better. Hold on. Excuse me. I might edit that out if I actually remember. So, yes, Witcher 3. I'm really, really interested in it. Horse riding I'm not really that interested in, but and they talk about it being open world this time, and I'm wondering how open world do they mean? So yes, very much. What do we think of Witcher 3? Was it as good as Witcher 2, or did they take a big step backwards? I have high hopes that they've learned from Witcher 1 and 2, and Witcher 3 turns out to be really, really good. South Park: The Stick of Truth. Man, this game has been supposedly coming out and maybe canceled and had a lot of tumultuous times, but it's supposed to come out this year. It was originally THQ, but then they went under, and I forget who ended up getting the publishing rights for that, but I don't know if it was Devolver or someone else. At any rate, I'm very interested in that. It looks like Trey Parker and Anyway, the two guys from South Park have taken a hand directly in making the game, I think. So I feel like that means that they're going to put more time and effort into making sure it's a damn good game. So I'm very curious how that's going to turn out. Elder Scrolls Online. Now, there's an NDA. Like, first of all, NDAs on MMOs is stupid. And I'm not even going to get into a side rant. We agree on that. Of course we agree, because we're me. Unless I've had a change of heart since then, which I highly, highly doubt. And so I can't really talk about my limited time in the beta, but let's just say that I went in with low expectations, and when I finished the beta weekend, my expectations were about the same. So I'd be curious how this comes out reception-wise. Honestly, I see it not doing that great. It's it kind of does have that Elder Scrolls feel, but I don't think it has enough pull to have a ton of subs. Excuse me, consistently. I also don't think they've talked about free to play at all. I think they've flat out said it's just going to be a monthly subscription. So I guess my questions to myself then would be, what was the initial reception among, I don't really care about the press, because the press reviews MMOs and they do it right at launch, and I always think that's stupid. But amongst the players, how did Elder Scrolls turn out? Ignoring the idiot fanboys who are going to love it no matter what because it's Elder Scrolls Online. What was the overall reception from gamers to Elder Scrolls Online? Did it sell really well initially and then drastically drop off? Because that's what most MMOs seem to do. At best, they tend to sell a ton and do really good that first month, maybe 2 months, and then drastically drop off. So is that happening with Elder Scrolls? Does it even sell that well? I would think that it would. I mean, it's Elder Scrolls Online. They've got the name recognition amongst a huge swath of gamers. So I would think it would at least sell well, but I don't get a good feeling from it, both from what I played. Not that I think it's going to be bad, I just don't think it's going to be different enough and fun enough to really draw in people from either other MMOs or people who don't normally MMO. Now, I don't doubt that there's people who just really love Elder Scrolls and will play this just because it's Elder Scrolls Online, just like there's tons of people who play Knights of the Republic just because it's Star Wars MMO. So I don't doubt that'll happen with Elder Scrolls as well, but obviously I think it's going to be a much lower number because there's a lot less people who follow Elder Scrolls lore that closely versus Star Wars. Obviously, there's a huge difference there. So I'd be curious to see that, and if by the time you see this, will it have gone free to play already? That's another big if, and that will be a big determination. There is, does it drop off so fast that they've got free to play? I have to think they have a backup plan with free to play in mind. If they don't, they're fools. I think any MMO that goes live that isn't World of Warcraft 2 needs to have a free to play backup plan. Because even Star Wars or Knights of the Old Republic seemed hesitant about going free to play, but then I think within a year, I think it was right at maybe a year they went free to play, something like that. Maybe it was less than a year. I don't know. Anyway, I'd be curious to see if the same thing happens with Elder Scrolls Online. Now, another MMO I just thought of that I didn't write down was WildStar Online. I don't think that's coming out this year, though. I could be wrong. If it has come out, I would really be curious what I think about that. Because I really want to be... The thing that interests me is like building houses and the crafting and all that. That's what interests me. I don't care about the combat that much. I've been looking for a crafting MMO forever. Like, I've wanted a game like... And some people are going to roll their eyes when I say this. Star Wars Galaxies. Not Knights of the Republic, Star Wars Galaxies. That game had a ton of problems. However, it had the best crafting system I've ever played in an MMO. And I love to see another MMO with that, where the crafting is its own big thing. Where, like, you can just be a crafter from level 1. There's no, well, get to level 10 and then you can do some crafting and maybe you can support yourself. You were able from the time you made your character to be a crafter and make your living crafting things. And it wasn't perfect by any stretch, but it was awesome. The way the resources gathering worked and all of that was just really, really cool. I've been looking for MMOs since then that would have something like that. I really want I don't think WildStar is going to be anywhere near as in depth, but if I can start from ground zero, crafting items, or I don't know if they have like a crafter. I think it's more like an architect where you build houses. Not really as good, but we'll see if it turns out. And again, I don't even know if that's coming out in 2014, so we'll see about that. Dragon Age Inquisition, aka Dragon Age 3. I think that's what they're calling it. Expectation levels are basement level. I do not expect much out of this game. Dragon Age 2, I don't care what anybody says. Dragon Age 2 sucked. It at best was mediocre. At best was mediocre. The story was bland. Most of the characters were boring, and the combat was okay, but then enemies paratrooping in on you constantly was so predictable. The reuse of environments was embarrassing. Like, I cleared out the same damn warehouse probably 5, 6, 7 times, and the same with caves and other areas that they just reuse, and they would change it because, oh, instead of coming in from spawning in the north, you spawned in the east, and oh, this door that used to be locked is open, and this other door that was open before is now locked. And oh, look, here's some parachuting enemies because you've killed the first wave. It was so awful. It was so bad. The story wasn't interesting. You never left the city. The whole second act seemed completely out of place. It was it was a bad game. It was a bad game. And what makes it worse is BioWare seemed to just ignore negative criticism. They just blew it off. Like, people don't get it. And so if they would have said, look, you know what? We tried something different. It didn't work out. We've learned our lesson. We're gonna, start from scratch with this new game. I have not seen them do that. They seemed very defiant about Dragon Age 2 being a crappy game. So I don't have very high expectations at all, because Dragon Age 2 was just so bad. I will be interested. I'm open. I want it to be good. Dragon Age Origins was great. I love that game. And that's why Dragon Age 2 was such a huge disappointment. So maybe they will clean up. Will they clean up? Is Dragon Age 3 as good? Is it going to be littered with EA's typical bullshit of day one DLC and season pass? Well, no, I think EA said they've gotten rid of season pass. But day one DLC and a bunch of other garbage. Is EA finally going to get their heads out of their asses and put it on Steam? They probably won't. It's probably going to be Origin only, which is going to be another strike against it. So we'll see how it turns out. Again, I'm open-minded. If it's great, I'll be happy. But I'm really not expecting to be surprised, which I guess that's part of being surprised. Okay, that's all the games that I can think of that I am looking forward to. Now, another big thing that is being talked about a lot right now is Steam machines, and in particular the Steam controller. Now, they just revealed a bunch of different Steam machines that are in the works, or I think all of them that are in the works. And they range in price from like $500 to $4,000 or $3,000 or something insane like that. So I'm curious, did that start off good this year? Is it struggling? Is it kind of, doing meh, all right? Have any companies dropped out? Because there was like 7 or 8 different companies making Steam machines. So how many, if any of them, have dropped out? How many are still making Steam machines? How well have they been received? How well are they working? Are there any vendors in particular who have done poorly? Like maybe Alienwares are great, but then Company B, because I don't really remember most of the other. I know Falcon Northwest, I think it's another one. Are any of them making crappy Steam machines? And if so, is Valve cracking down on them? Is Valve saying, look, you're making us look bad by making these bad Steam machines? So did that happen? I'd be curious, if something like that happened and what Valve's reaction to it was. And my prediction is that they're not going to do that well this year. I don't know, it's an interesting market that they're going for. And a lot of people complained about the price. A lot of people complained and said, well, I've already got a high-end gaming PC. Why would I want to spend another $1,000 for one to hook up to the TV? I don't think that's who they're targeting. I think they're targeting people who don't have a great machine now and have, do a lot of gaming on their consoles, or they, for whatever reason, use a Mac or Linux, and they want access to all these games. But they don't, or they have a laptop, and they, long story short, the people who don't have a gaming PC now, but would like to get into PC gaming, and they're not PC, or they're not technically knowledgeable, so they don't want to have to buy the parts and put it together. They don't want to worry about, updating the drivers and anything else that comes along with PC gaming. And we're not even going to get into the nonsense about how, it's overblown how difficult it is to keep a PC going with the drivers updates and all that. But they just want a box that they can plug in and play. No fuss, no muss. Like an Xbox or a PS4, you plug it in, you go. There's no driver updates. Yeah, there's OS updates, but it tells you update. It does everything in the background. You don't have to worry about logging in or permissions or incompatibility or any of this other junk. So they just want to have it work, sit back in the couch or on the chair and play the games. I think that's who they're targeting. That's my opinion. People like me who have a really nice gaming rig, they don't really care because we're already in, right? We're already invested in Steam. So they don't need us. I think the Steam boxes are to get even more customers into Steam buying digital games. And if you're a PC gamer, which you probably are if you're watching this, you know how it gets. When you've got access to Steam and you see these ridiculous sales and you end up with this 50 game deep backlog, that's what they want. They want to start tapping into that console market of people who think that PC gaming is too tedious, too difficult, too much work. And I think they see that as a way to get them. And then once they get into Steam, they're like, oh my God, like these Steam sales are ridiculous. Because I remember I think it was last year, Microsoft had a summer sale the same time Steam was doing a sale. I was like, oh, let's see if they stepped up. Like their summer sale was a joke. Like not even close to the awesome deals that you can get on Steam. Like not even in the ballpark. When I can buy Fallout New Vegas for $3, which is 50 plus hours of gameplay, I mean you got nothing. You got nothing. So I think they see this as a good way to get people onto or into the Steam environment. Just like I can't think of a good example, but it's just a good way to get people in and spending money. So how did the Steam machines work out? I'm hoping they go well. I want to see more PC gaming. I want us to take back a larger share of the market. I want to start destroying these excuses that developers are giving about not porting the PC, which to be fair, most are not doing anymore. PC, it's very, very common now for PC releases to be on the same day as major releases, or at least later, like Metal Gear today. Metal Gear Revengeance just came out. So, and this is like months after the main release, but at least it came out. And there's talk about maybe releasing Metal Gear Solid 5 on PC at some point, which, again, I'd be curious if that actually ended up happening by the beginning of 2015. But the more Steam machines we get out there, the more people we get PC gaming, the more people we have spending money in Steam, the less excuses these developers have for not getting PC ports, which, again, it's not really been a big deal. It also opens up, additional sales to indie devs who are all on Steam and makes Steam even more attractive to indie devs than it already is, which is pretty impressive because Steam is already very, very, very desirable by indie devs. And many say that if you're not on Steam, then your success rate is going to be very, very limited. So anyway, yeah, the other thing I want to know is the controller. Have I gotten to check, or have I got a chance to get hands-on with the Steam controller yet? If so, what do you think? Is it good? It looks so weird. It looks like an owl's face. But I'm really curious, what did you think of it? If you were able to try it, do you really think this could replace mouse and keyboard? I really have a hard time believing that. There's just way too much utility in the keyboard, way too many buttons that are millimeters away from your finger. The mouse is just ridiculously fast and accurate. So, but is it close enough, right? Is it better than current controllers to the point that, you know what? I don't feel I have as much control, but it's close enough so that I can just sit back on my sit back on my sofa, play a game on the TV, and just relax. So, what do you think of the Steam controller if you've gotten used to it? gotten to use it, and how well have the Steam machines been adopted? Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, I want to talk about my channel. I want to talk about my current channel stats. When I wrote this, or I made my notes, here are my current channel stats. I have 3,251 subscribers. I'm sorry, 3,215 subscribers. I average about 43,000 views, I did average 43,000 views in the last 30 days. I have 3,004 videos. I think that's public videos. Yeah, that's 3,004 public videos. Now, my goals for the channel by the end of 2015, or beginning of 2015, is to have 50,000 subscribers. That's a huge increase and, quite frankly, unrealistic. But I really need to start pushing myself. If I want to do this as a job, and I do, I have got to push harder and faster to make that happen. The channel growth has been good. I'm happy with the growth that I've been getting, but it needs to come faster. A lot of sexual innuendo in this letter to myself. Hey, how you doing? So, but yeah, that just needs to happen. 50,000 subs, and I just need to figure out how to make that happen. So yeah, did I make that goal? Probably not. But no, let's not be that negative. Yes, we probably did. I need to get about 720,000 views a month, which is, again, way higher than it is now, which again was about 43,000. But if we want to make this happen, we got to make it happen. We got to shit or get off the pot, as Confucius would say. I would also like to get partnered with Twitch. If you don't know what that means, your partner, well, of course, you know what it means, but the other folks listening to this open letter, partnered means that I can, basically, when I run ads, I will get a portion of that ad revenue. So I can also, well, I don't think you can be subscribe. I think subscribe is something different, where if you get to the point you can subscribe, you put a button on the channel, and someone can subscribe to your channel for $5 a month, and the channel owner gets half of that every month. I'd like to have that as well, but I definitely want to get partnered with Twitch before the beginning of, or by the beginning of 2015. So did that happen? How are we doing on the channel? Is that going the way you want? Have you kind of given up on that? Have you decided to switch to Twitch? Have you given up on the dream entirely? I really hope not. I really hope not, because you know how much we care about this, and you know how much we love this, and you know that we're pretty, I don't know if apathetic is the right term, but we really don't get excited about things to extremes. We definitely don't get to the point where all we want to do is one thing, and it drives us, and we think about it all the time. This is that exception. I think about the channel all the time. And this is total nerd out here. Feel free to make fun of me for this. I don't really care. But I've never felt this way about anything. Like, I've never been this driven. I never thought I would be. When I see entrepreneurial type people, and I see they work their ass off, they get this business built from the ground up, they make it profitable, and they sell it, and they've got a lot of money, and they do it all again. I look at those people like they're insane. Like, why would you do that? Relax. Like, you've got the money. You can retire now. Why would you put yourself through all this stress, all this hard work, just to do it again, and it might not even be successful? Why would you do that? Now that I've kind of, and obviously it's a different thing, but now that I've kind of gotten a taste of that, I understand that mindset now. I understand that mindset, because even though I might get stressed, or if I'm spending a lot of time doing things that I don't like video editing, or finding out how to optimize my tags, or trying to network more, or just things that I don't necessarily enjoy, or if I get stressed about, oh, I didn't do a video today, or oh, I need to record for 4 hours today, or you know, focusing on how can I learn to speak better, and other piddly things that go on behind the scenes that most folks don't see, it's still enjoyable. It's an enjoyable stress. And like I say, it's hard for me to describe, especially because it's something I've never experienced before. But it's something that I really want to make happen. So I really hope you have not given up the dream, to do this in some way, shape, or form. Because the thought of going back, which, I've still got to find a job. That's another thing I need to talk about. So I need to get that other job, at least in the interim. But the idea of sitting in a cubicle for the rest of my life, making other people rich, is incredibly depressing to me. So I hope that you have not done that. Or at least maybe you found something else that you love as much. Or you've won the lotto, which would be impressive because I almost never played the lotto. I don't know how that would work. So anyway, speaking of YouTube and Twitch, I'm really curious to find out, how did YouTube versus Twitch shake down in 2014? Right now, the big thing is currently the partners pretty much do nothing for the YouTube folks. And just for those of you who are watching this open letter to myself, in a nutshell, the way it works is a lot of Let's Players needed to join channels like Machinima or RPM or Maker or Polaris or these other channels so that they could easily monetize their videos. I won't bother with the details because it's not important. Long story short, it's just 100 times easier, and the partners got a cut of your ad revenue for basically just doing that. Well, YouTube has changed it so that the channels or these studios or these partners, they're called MCNs, multi-channel networks, so that they can't do it as easy. So they're actually, what's happening, sorry, I know I get stumbled when I try to explain things sometimes. In a nutshell, all that matters is networks are no longer allowing instant monetization for most of the people under their umbrella. So basically, they're taking money to do pretty much nothing. And some of them have handled it pretty damn scummily. RPM in particular has been particularly scummy about how they've been dealing with the situation, which is who I'm with, by the way. And my contract's up in February. I have zero plans to renew it because, frankly, they are doing nothing for me if they can't allow me instant monetization. So how did this all pan out? The thing that worries me is once I drop my contract, getting revenue set up as a partner with YouTube. YouTube is god awful. Everything, like, if you just watch videos, it's fine. But like everything on the back end is just a huge clusterfuck. Like I still to this day feel that I just saw like Game of Thrones season 4 premieres April 6th, 2014. Yes. Looking forward to that. Anyway, how did that turn out? Hopefully season 4 is going to have some pretty awesome shit in it. No spoilers, 2015 me. But anyway, YouTube is shit. Like I've always felt that all the crappy employees from Google, all the people that are really stupid and terrible at their jobs that they don't want to fire, go to YouTube. And the more stuff they change, the more I feel like this is true. And YouTube is very hands off. The contacting support for YouTube is a nightmare. And if you get like a content strike or something like that, even if it's unwarranted, more often than not, it takes a long time to get it removed, if you get it removed at all. So it's just a nightmare. So I'm worried about making this transition to just being partnered straight up with YouTube. I'm afraid, if one, I'm going to be able to do it at all. I don't think it'll be a huge issue, but I guess we'll see. And two, there's another thing that was supposed to start this month, and I'm pretty sure it's not started yet, where when a content creator uploads a monetized video, normally it doesn't take long, but now YouTube is doing this bullshit where you might have to wait hours or more likely days before the monetization is approved. Days before monetization is approved. And what their advice was is, oh, well, just upload your video, mark it as private or unlisted, wait for it to monetize, and then a few days later, when it finally gets monetized, go ahead and mark it public. This is a problem for multiple reasons. One, it's just a headache. It's the headache to keep up with. You have to be way ahead. So if you make videos about games that have just come out, or if you're making like a news type show about things that just happened, like maybe something gets announced at E3 or CES or whatever, well, it might take days before your video goes up, and by then it's already been well known and talked about in this age of the internet. It's old news already, so you miss your chance to capitalize on it. And so it's just a terrible change. And I understand that a lot of this is due to the completely horrendous copyright laws we have, especially in the US. I understand that, but YouTube just handles everything so poorly that it just makes an already bad situation far, far worse. So I'm very nervous about how that's going to turn out. That's why I'm starting to look more and more at Twitch. Twitch doesn't have these problems, at least yet. I don't know how they've dodged the copyright bullet, because they have tons of streamers, especially ones who do stuff like LOL, StarCraft, Hearthstone, things like that. They play like copyrighted music in the background. Now, of course, you can argue people aren't going to those streams to listen to the music; they're watching the gameplay. But the people who own that music, they don't think that way. They think, this channel's playing my music, I need to get a cut of whatever money they're making. That's where their thought process ends. So I'm curious to see, by 2015, does Twitch run into any of this? Does Twitch run into any of these, especially these music owners, because they are by far the worst abusers of the copyright and content ID systems? Are they starting to cause problems with Twitch? Now, and maybe some game companies start causing problems with Twitch. It hasn't really happened yet. The only time I've seen issues was if you were streaming a game before like street date, which, that makes sense. All right. If you got a game before street date, I can kind of see that, sort of. Quite frankly, I think it's bullshit, though. If I buy a game, if I go to Walmart and buy a game and they let me buy it a day early just because they're Walmart, they don't give a damn, then I shouldn't be punished because I got the game early, right? I think Twitch should tell them to go fuck themselves, frankly. Now, when you're talking about things like an NDA, like streaming MMOs with NDAs, because they have NDAs because it's Bethesda and they're pulled by lawyers, then all right, now I can see that, absolutely see that. Or leaks, like if somebody's leaked some kind of build, absolutely shut the channel down. Anyway, besides all that, there hasn't been these problems. Most companies are smart enough, or at least the game companies are smart enough to know that Twitch is free advertising and YouTube is free advertising. More companies are coming around to this. A lot of companies, Japanese ones in particular, are very slow to learn these things. Konami, Nintendo, Sega, etc. are very slow on the uptake, unfortunately. But most other companies, or more and more companies, are starting to come around. Even Capcom, which is a Japanese company, understands how powerful this can be. So I'd be curious if any of these problems that have been plaguing YouTube start to plague Twitch. Has there been any kind of movement of a lot of people who were prominent on YouTube moving over to Twitch, either primarily or even entirely? People like, Northern Lion, SSOHPCK, or whatever the hell his name is. I can never remember his damn acronym. Chaotic, all these other people who are big on YouTube who have kind of, I don't know about the SSH whatever guy, but I know a lot of these people are starting to do streams as well as YouTube. Do a lot of these folks start moving to moving to YouTube Prime, or let me try again. Sorry, my face is getting, or my mouth is getting stupid. I'll blame my mouth, not my brain. But have a lot of these people who made their name moving partially to Twitch or even full time to Twitch, maybe just uploading, like maybe just streaming to Twitch and then, porting from Twitch to YouTube. And if YouTube flags it as content ID, they're just like whatever and they delete it or they unmonetize it and focus on Twitch. I would be very curious to see if that happens. Another thing that's going to be interesting is I think this is going to be a big year for Twitch. I see 2014 being a really, really important year for Twitch. A few reasons. One, this whole YouTube thing. I see more and more people doing streams when they didn't before. And seeing how a lot of these people rely on, this content they make for their income, that is their job. I see a lot of people moving to Twitch because YouTube has become so unreliable and so almost outright hostile to people who make video game content and so incredibly difficult to actually get a hold of to start moving to Twitch because Twitch is like, hey, we want gamers. We want you guys here. And they haven't had these same issues that YouTube has. So I would really be curious how that's going. But I've already talked about that, but I want to say that's one reason Twitch is going to be a bigger thing this year. Another thing is you have the PS4, which already has Twitch stream working on day one, Microsoft. And then you have Microsoft will have Twitch streaming in a few months. By the way, let me just throw this out there. I'm going to turn my heater on. Hopefully you guys can't hear it. But what the hell, Microsoft? You have fucked up the Xbox One stuff from start to finish. Like the console itself is cool, and there's a lot of good things about it, but man, you guys just keep fucking up behind the scenes. Twitch, you advertise Twitch like early on, and you can't even get it working by January of 2014, and you're saying it's going to be a few more months, possibly? When did they finally get Twitch streaming out on the Xbox One? That's ridiculous it's taking this long. Anyway, so this year you're going to have PS4 and Xbox streaming on Twitch. And I saw some statistic that during a certain date range, like 30% of the streamers, sorry, I'm fiddling with my space heater, not my crotch or my butt, as you might think. But like 30% of the streamers for that week were on the PS4. That's crazy. Now, obviously, some of this is going to drop down. A lot of those are people who were just streaming it because they could, and they might have had one or two viewers, and eventually they'll be like, this isn't worth the extra hassle. I don't care. Or they start hitting their data caps, which that's a whole another thing. But anyway, so I see Twitch really, really growing this year. The big question is, I think there's two big questions. One, as I've said before, do they start having some of the same problems that YouTube has, particular with the copyright and content ID horseshit? And secondly, are they able to handle the strain? They've already added a 30-second delay between, the video and the chat, which is horrible, by the way, for a streaming service to have a 30-second delay. So did they get this stuff cleared up? I mean, their chat has always been flaky, and they've been working on that for a long time. At least I'd hope so. So did they finally get that stuff cleared up? Did they finally lower it? I mean, it's always had a delay of some kind, like 5 to 10 seconds maybe. 10 was kind of on the crappier end. But 30 seconds is pretty crazy to say, if I'm playing a game and I'm like, oh, there's a path that goes left and a path that goes right. Which one should I take? And you sit there and wait for at least 30 seconds for the chat to, respond or what have you. So that's pretty damn lame. With this big influx of Xbox coming in as well, eventually, I'd be really curious to see if they can handle the weight. And again, also the people who are migrating from YouTube over to Twitch, if they can handle it. And if they can't, has there been any other alternatives that pop up? I saw mention of some other streaming site, a video game streaming site, which has like a 5-second delay. But of course, they have a 5-second delay because they're not so busy. If they become as busy as Twitch, they'll probably also add a longer delay. So, has there been any serious competitors? Are people kind of split? Like some people stream on Twitch, some people split or stream on this other site, what have you. How does that all shake out? Or does it just turn out that Twitch has a normal year? I just really think that we're going to see a movement from YouTube to Twitch for multiple reasons. So how does that all pan out? Like, what's the gaming entertainment situation as in compared to like YouTube versus Twitch? I'm really interested about that. I know I've talked about that a lot, but that's something I've thought quite a bit about, and I think is going to be very, very interesting in the coming year. What else? Oh, Sony Now. Sony Now, for those watching, is, if you're not familiar, it's Sony's answer to not being backwards compatible. It will allow you to presumably purchase games via their network and then stream them. Like, you don't download them and play them. You actually stream the game through the internet. If you're familiar with OnLive, it works kind of like that. So the big question is, how does it actually play? Because, I mean, you have to, count the time it takes from you hit the button for it to go to the PlayStation and then over the internet to their servers and then come back with a response. So I'd be very, very curious to see how usable that is. I think my prediction is the PS Now is going to be more for playing not fast, like high intensity fast games. No FPS or minimal FPS. No, like Devil May Cry, things like that, where specific. If no fighting games, now wouldn't that be interesting? Two people playing PlayStation Now fighting games over the internet. That would be some interesting latency problems there. But I can see it more for playing games that aren't that demanding of like snap decisions, RPGs, puzzle games, things like that, where you don't have to react like that super quickly. I can see it being more useful for that. But again, things like Devil May Cry, various first-person shooters, which why are you playing a first-person shooter on a console in the first place is a question that I don't know the answer to. I don't think it's going to work that well, but we'll see. The other thing is the billing, because they've talked about having some kind of subscription service, or you can rent the game via PlayStation Now. I'd be very interested to see how all that comes out. So what methods did they use? I don't think it's going to be a case where you have PS Plus, you have access to all these games. That seems to be over the top. PlayStation Plus is already a great bargain, and I would love if they added that, but I just don't see it happening. Let's see. Oh, the console war. How's the console war going? They just released stats. I think the PlayStation sold like 4.3 million, and I think the Xbox has sold around 3 million, something like that. So Sony is definitely in the lead. Not by, it's a pretty significant amount. Like 1 million is a big difference, needless to say. So they're in the lead right now for sure. But is it still like that? Like, has Xbox started to catch up? Has the gap become wider? Has Microsoft stopped screwing up repeatedly and won back a lot of goodwill? I think they have won back a lot of goodwill, but they just keep doing really dumb shit. Like the whole, if you're swearing on your uploads, you can actually get like banned for 20 or timed out for 24 hours, something really stupid like that. They just keep making really dumb decisions. So did they finally stop making these really stupid decisions? And is Xbox even part of Microsoft anymore? Because they've been talking about a new CEO, and one of the potentials for a new CEO has openly said he thinks the Xbox takes away from Microsoft, which is kind of hilarious because, well, it just is. But, I mean, maybe that person sold it off. I mean, that would be a lot to happen in 1 year, but hey, who knows? So how is that console war going? The Wii U. Does anybody give a shit about the Wii U? It's getting Bayonetta 2. It got Mario Land 3D. Wonderful 101. I don't know how good that game was. is there like enough games now that people are like, hey, the Wii U is legitimate console now. It's not just a, oh, haha, the Wii U, that's a good joke. But is it actually worth owning a Wii U now? Are people starting to pick it up now that it's starting to get good games? Or has it been the situation where it's gotten more good games, but it was so rough out of the start gate that nobody still wants one because it has that negative stigma? So how is that three-way console war? And how could we forget the Ouya? How's the Ouya doing? I have very little doubt that it is not doing great. I have one. I haven't used it much. And they've had a lot of missteps too. So I'd be curious, sorry, turn my heater off. Have they improved at all? Like, are they even still around? Is the company even still around? They had a lot of money, I think. So I don't see that as being a problem, but have they started to step it up? Has the main CEO lady, I forget her name, of course her name slips my mind. Is she still around? Has she been like, screw this, abandoned ship? I'd be curious what the Ouya situation is at this point in time. Let's see, the Oculus Rift. How is it doing? I don't know when the Oculus Rift is supposed to come out to like consumers, but the Oculus Rift, really sounded pretty gimmicky at first, but I've seen some legitimate critics try it out and say this is actually really, really cool. So does Oculus Rift end up coming out in 2014? And if so, how well is it received? Is it become like your game needs to have Oculus Rift support? Or is it kind of a, it's fun to use, but maybe it's fun to use for a while, and then it's like, I would just rather play the games normally. What's the situation with the Oculus Rift? Has it taken off? Is it open up a whole new, types of games that fully utilize the Oculus Rift, or even requiring the Oculus Rift to take off? What kind of sales numbers does it have if it came out this year? Has it really maintained or grabbed some mainstream attraction? Now, talking more on a personal note here, I try not to talk about too much about personal stuff here on this, but the one personal thing I'll mention is, how goes that job search? You've not had a job for like a year now, and you're still looking. There's some possibilities that have come up here recently. How is that going? Hopefully you found something, because kind of don't think you could probably go another year without income of some kind, and YouTube is not cutting it yet, and it's also incredibly unreliable. So I'm curious, how did that end up turning out? So I think that's everything. Okay, yep, that looks like everything I want to talk about. I know there's going to be things that I missed, which I'm sure 2015 me, go ahead and actually talk about those things that I missed, maybe things that I should have known about, or maybe that I dismissed as being a non-issue thing, and so I didn't bother even talking about it. But it turns out it was really important or had a big impact. One thing that I'm curious to find out too is the indie bubble. I feel like I think it's getting harder and harder for indie games to really make it, because there's so many decent to great indie games, and now you've got Greenlight letting in like 100 games at a time because there's just so many of them. A lot of these good games, people just don't have time to play all these games. It's just, there's too damn many. I don't have a job, and I don't have time to play all the games that I've got to play, let alone if I had work, a school, had to go to school, had, wife and kids, all that to deal with. Like, I have no life, and I don't have enough time to play all these games. So the average person isn't going to have enough either. So I think we're starting to run into a case where there's almost too much of a good thing, where it's going to be hard for these indie devs to really stand out unless they either get really lucky with the press, or they just make a really, really polished game that is just really damn good. And these games that are, good are going to get washed away. Your game has to be either A, really great, or B, get lucky insofar as how much is covered by prominent people in the media, whether it be websites or YouTubers or Twitch streamers or what have you. So I'm very interested in finding that out. Also, Steam or Valve has said they don't like green light, and I don't know if it's going to go away at some point. Do they implement a new system for green light, or well, to replace green light? Is green light even still around in 2015, or have they completely changed it with something else, some theoretically better way to get indie games available to folks? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, 2015, me, if you would kindly, you handsome bastard, go ahead and answer my questions. I'm very interested to hear your responses. And I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about what things that I might have missed or surprises that have come up in the year 2014. Again, things that I and maybe nobody else really thought would be a big deal, and then it comes out and it turns out that it was really, really cool. So yeah, and early access and Kickstarter are big deals. I'm curious if it still kind of has the same traction in 2015 as well. But anyway, I could probably go on for another hour just talking about random things. But yeah, I would I expect your reply early 2015, me, preferably January 1st or 2nd. I'll tolerate January 2nd. Stop putting it off. Just make the damn video in response to me. And then, of course, don't forget to make one for 2016, the 2016 version of myself, which he can answer. So anyway, yeah. Thank you other folks for watching and listening in on my open letter to myself in the year 2015. Again, leave comments. I would be curious to see if you guys leave comments about certain things, about anything really. And again, on the 2015 video, I'll try to remember to make a reminder, say, oh, by the way, if you made comments last year, make sure to go back and, check your comments. So, unless my channel gets banned somehow, which that would be unfortunate, but hopefully it doesn't happen. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you like this idea. I know that I do, as someone who just likes to archive this type of stuff. So yeah, I look forward to reading your comments, both now and in the year 2015. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good 2014.